B. Mikhail, 29, on-call back-end dev at Iron Relay, the dull system that quietly keeps trucks moving. Monday morning lands an email titled Inclusion Compliance Revision, subject line, already reads like, trouble attached is a shiny PDF, 13 pages, ends with a checkbox tracking compliance like a pulse monitor, hit acknowledge without thinking twice. Next thing, calendar fills instantly mandatory meeting, cameras required, mics muted, all hands. Starts with soft pastel slides about healing, while actual metrics shrink in the corner like they did something wrong. Then Leah shows up on screen, equity team lead, smiling like a guidance counselor who caught you cheating, says, "We're going to center listening today," then locks all men to chat, only like we're unsafe to speak. I type a simple question about deployment timing. Room reacts like I dropped a bomb. She pauses, says, "Let's hold space," calls my question pressured energy. My name gets tagged like a warning label. Meeting just keeps rolling, no answer. Given silence after feels heavier than any argument I could have made. Tuesday morning email titled Communication Balance Note My Manager. CC'd for alignment visibility. One strike listed. Over participation through insistence, funny part. Is, I type twice in chat, I ask what rule I broke that earns another mark. Response says, questioning, framing reinforces the pattern. Now I'm at, +2, calendar invite follows, right after coaching session with Leah and some compliance observer sitting silent in attendees. Join the call, see dim lighting, plants everywhere, a safe zone sign, and her sipping something green out of a glass cup. She opens with, "This isn't disciplinary," then pulls up a spreadsheet. Tracking my behavior like a credit score, explains thresholds calmly, 3 points, warning, 5 points. Performance plan, 7 points, termination. Track my reflection form, hits inbox, instantly asks me to write about control tendencies and apologize for impact. I type careful. Neutral answers response comes back saying, it reads calculated and calculated equals inauthentic in their glossary. Another point added anyway. Reason listed as withheld openness. Get that slow stomach drop. Like an elevator, misfire. Later that week, incident alerts get reworked. New plugin replaces red alarms with soft pulsing hearts. System message now says, avoid critical failure wording. Instead use system experiencing stress, like servers need emotional support. Someone jokes the build tool is feeling hostile today. Leah pins it, like it's deep insight instead of a joke. Lunchtime, routing starts failing. I type, we need to drop traffic immediately. Standard language, Leah replies in thread, telling everyone to avoid aggressive phrasing. My message flagged as non-compliant. She suggests temporarily easing incoming demand. Extra words feel like sand grinding gears. Manager messages me, privately says, keep your head low, they're tracking trends. Friday rolls in with another announcement, resource stability, update translation. On-call schedule changed. Women can opt out of night shifts for wellness. Men assigned to cover continuity. My calendar fills with overnight blocks like someone chained me to uptime. Same email launches a new Slack channel called #intensity-buffer. We get moved there, desks pushed near the restrooms, divider goes up, everyone instantly calls it the pen. Joke's still free, at least for now. Next comes kitchen policy marketed as Compassion Initiative. Poster shows sad animals with soft fonts, meat and fish banned due to residual harm presence. Microwaves. Now plant-only fridge has a sign that looks like a meditation app. I'd bring in a turkey sandwich anyway. Alibot pings me, instantly says, someone reported harmful consumption. Asks for a reflection on power dynamics in food. Choices standing there, holding lunch like it's contraband, end up throwing it out. Not because I agree, just don't want another point. Payday hits, notice a new deduction line labeled MCI. Masculinity Cost Index looks official. Clean memo says it's automatic support. Funding applied to men goes toward comfort infrastructure for women. Same afternoon, office gets new ergonomic chairs, scented candles, specialty drinks, and wellness credits. A quiet room appears with diffusers blasting lavender, like it's hiding something. Our section gets a poster saying, practice stillness and accountability. Basically a reminder. We're the issue, Do the math in my head. The deduction pool is way bigger than snacks and chairs. Submit a ticket to accounting. They reply, program is owned by inclusion team. So it ends with Leah. Something clicks. Money always leaves a trail, no matter how soft the branding night hits. Alert fires, routing, starts timing out. Customers getting blank pages, drivers stuck, waiting out in actual weather. Page backup, on-call auto response, comes back about recovery windows, personal boundaries, and nervous system scheduling. So, yeah, nobody's coming, just me again. Dashboards bleeding red while we pretend it's just system strain. My heart rate sinking with alert pings. I type roll it back. Now, Leah jumps into the channel, instantly says, directive language during incidents undermines psychological safety. I start rewriting it into something softer. Maybe we could consider rolling back. Feels like wasting oxygen, seconds ticking. Contracts burning. I roll it back anyway. System stabilizes immediately because reality doesn't care about phrasing. Customers just want it fixed. Post-mortem. Doc turns into a war zone. Leah edits everything without asking calls. It narrative framing. Support failure becomes unexpected pause. Bug becomes process misalignment. And half the doc turns into feelings. Meeting starts. She says, my urgency created unsafe pacing. Asks me to apologize publicly to realign the team. I do it because points matter more than pride. Now can literally feel the humiliation sitting in my throat. Next invite hits mandatory session called Restorative Dialogue, attendance tracked. Growth apparently needs a calendar, slot, room, feels like therapy with performance metrics. My name gets used as the case study pinned up for everyone. Leah asks why I always need to be. Correct room goes dead quiet, like it's waiting for me to break down. I say, I just need the system working. She nods, slowly writes down control attachment. I mention metrics. She pivots into a speech about objectivity being historically harmful. New rule introduced, every message has to start with, I hear you, before any actual content plugin enforces. It also caps my speaking time to 10% in meetings, tracks, seconds like probation, software points. Keep stacking quietly because everything is now personality evidence, not output, not results. Pushing back equals aggression. Aggression equals escalation. Escalation equals exit. So I switch tactics, keep quiet, collect everything, screenshots, pile up, policy docs, point logs, payroll, deductions, alert, histories, timestamps, everywhere. Timestamps don't lie. Comfort spending keeps growing weekly, always right after payroll hits, like clockwork, new Slack channel, appears hashtag weekly reflection. Men required to post admissions every Friday, publicly scheduled, guilt skip it, and you get flagged for withholding emotional contribution, which adds points automatically. Leah posts hers too, reads like humble brags about how exhausting leadership is for her next policy. Update drops permission, first communication. Men now have to ask consent before asking anything, even checking if someone is on call. Pager basically needs a safe word. Now AlleyBot starts flagging words, just, actually, obviously, simple. Apparently those are harmful engineers, rewriting messages like, they're dodging censorship filters. Tickets take longer than shipping routes. Now, customers complaining more. Leah says, complaints show misaligned expectations. Not service failure, says they need education. Not urgency boundary hours. Get formalized. Women unavailable outside personal windows. Men cover the gaps. My pager goes off at 2. AM policy. Still says the real harm here is systemic. Another coaching invite drops. Leah says my written tone shows coercion again. Quotes my line, we should revert, says should, is a coercive term. With historical weight suggests replacing it with, I wonder if we might. Something in me just disconnects. At that point, she mentions the MC, I fund expanding next quarter, says men will contribute more as part of structural repair. I ask where the money actually goes. She smiles, says transparency can be weaponized. I reframe it as payroll clarification. She logs that as control fixation and behavior. Walk out with 4 more points. Feels like carrying soaked sand in a bag labeled progress. Then something slips. Someone posts a receipt in the wrong approval thread vendor name. Bright path, inclusion. Consulting amount way bigger than any office perks. Billing address is just a mailbox. Service contact, email, looks suspiciously similar to Leah's naming style. I don't say anything, don't react. Just download it quietly, store it next to payroll records. Few days later, another announcement, wellness retreat. Subsidy for women, funded by MC. Contributions vendor is the same consulting name, dates line up perfectly with Leah taking time off. That's when it hits. This isn't just policy anymore. This feels like something colder, because belief systems don't need fake. Addresses but scams usually do stay quiet, because throwing accusations without proof just feeds the point system, and points equal termination, calendar invite drops. Formal review. Stomach sinks like a snapped elevator, cable agenda. Says pattern evaluation and next steps. Leah there, compliance rep lurking. My manager looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. Leah talks in that calm voice about harm, safety, and how privileged people resist accountability. Says I'm showing resistance patterns, recommends performance, plan, focus on humility, reduce speaking, and weekly written confessions for 90 days. Manager stays silent. Basically furniture at this point. Document slides over, asking me to admit my technical urgency caused emotional harm across teams. I ask for examples. She says specificity is a control tactic used to corner marginalized narratives. I ask which rule I actually broke. She says policies are living frameworks, not loophole checklists. Fifth point hits that same afternoon. Reason, challenging corrective process legitimacy. Almost impressive how clean the contradiction is. Hands shaking at my desk, not fear, just anger with nowhere to go. Open my evidence folder. Start organizing like an accountant timeline, gets built piece by piece. Payroll, deductions, spending records, vendor invoices, policy changes, on-call schedules. Split by gender incident screenshots, showing HR stepping into technical channels mid-outage correcting wording, while systems were failing export schedules, showing women off nights. Men covering everything, numbers don't argue, draft email to compliance and finance, keep it neutral, frame it as financial risk and payroll inconsistency, not ideology, send it to generic audit inbox. No names, no faces, generic systems. Don't get intimidated. Finance replies asking for documentation. Heart rate finally stabilizes, paperwork speaks their language. That same week, production gets worse. Latest update removes hard borders from maps, replaced with soft gradients to avoid colonial implications. Drivers call support, saying they can't tell where states are anymore, just vague zones. Big client escalates immediately. Account teams begging engineering to revert. Contracts don't care about philosophy. Leah insists any fix must include an impact statement about border trauma. Engineering stalls. Customers bleed money instead of emergency fix meeting. We get scheduled for a reflection circle, then peak shipping day. Hits volume, spikes, hard. Systems start collapsing under load alerts everywhere. Pastel hearts pulsing like a nightclub, while freight stops moving. Page backup, on call. Again, Psalm Auto replies about boundaries and recovery. Windows, so yeah, alone again. Latency climbing, customers, losing cash, every minute, dashboard, screaming in colors. We're not allowed to call critical, I type. We need to failover immediately. Leah appears, instantly says, need to. Language is coercive in crisis contexts. I start rewriting it softer. Wasting time again, so I just trigger failover. Anyway, no permission database choking. AP is returning, 503s, rate limiter, barely holding things together. Leah posts, pause and confirm consent before action. While everything burns, I draft a blunt status update for customers, real numbers, real timelines. Leah deletes it, replaces with, we are pausing to restore alignment and care. Reads like perfume over smoke. I publish the real update. Anyway, feels like crossing a line, but the line was drawn around honesty. 10 minutes later, system stabilizes. Leah shows up immediately, frames my actions. As harmful urgency again starts writing. Point 7 says, decisive behavior can be unsafe. Post-mortem meeting opens with breathing exercises while customers are still furious. Feels surreal. She demands emotional reflections. First, Room wants to talk about root cause, but nobody wants points, so nobody speaks. She states my urgency caused harm, recommends stricter enforcement to protect women during on-call situations, then suggests increasing MCI deductions, more funding for comfort systems, grift scaling up. I try to mention root cause. Once she shuts it down, says focusing on systems over people is harmful. Framing room goes quiet again. So I stop talking, evidence doesn't get points, compile everything, send second packet to finance, include screenshots from this outage, include deleted status message, finance replies, says escalating to executive review, hands finally stop shaking, bigger predators. Entered the room, Leah senses it calls me. Privately offers to reduce points if I commit to growth and withdraw concerns. Calls it compassion, but it's clearly a deal, public apology, accept the 90-day plan, stop asking questions. I say I'll think about it, keep it neutral. People get sloppy when they feel safe that night. Policy quietly updates CI renamed to voluntary contribution, like payroll records don't already exist. Payroll records still there, timestamps still intact, numbers don't care about edits or wording. 2 days later, company-wide invite drops title, Operational Integrity Review. Mandatory cams, suggested sender is the CEO guy, only shows up when money's on fire. Everyone joins Leah, sitting front and center, calm smile, like she practiced this CEO, opens with one line, we're discussing uptime, payroll, and exposure. Clearly, first slide hits. Outage minutes, refunds, penalties graph, trending upward like a coffin lid, closing next slide. Unauthorized payroll deductions. Room goes silent in that heavy adult way. MCI totals displayed, applied only to men. Amount is massive way beyond office perks. Leah's smile tightens a bit, but posture stays locked in CEO, asks her to explain authority, who approved deductions, how funds were routed, what documentation exists. Leah starts with, we were addressing harm, he cuts in, politely asks again, just authority. She says, policy implied approval. He says policy isn't payroll. Authorization lets that sit. Next slide shows vendor payments, bright path. Inclusion consulting numbers, big enough to make people shift in chairs. He asks why the address traces to a mailbox service, asks why contact email matches Leah's pattern. She pivots to transparency being harmful. He says this is fraud exposure, not perception. She tries to talk over him. He raises a hand. Says, don't interrupt. Flat tone final. Someone behind me coughs. Sounds like pressure releasing. Leah says her voice is being suppressed. He responds, your voice-controlled payroll. That ends now. Next slide incident logs. HR moderating engineering channels, mid-outage flagging wording, while systems were failing. He asks why. She says urgency needed containment. He says containment cost. Contracts, pulls up churn, graphs numbers, hit harder than any argument. Then policy excerpt appears, line, reads, men must be restricted for safety. He asks if she wrote it. She says yes. He says it's openly discriminatory and legally dangerous. Mentions legal, already reviewing, next slide shows on-call schedules, gender split, clear downtime, overlaps with coverage gaps, data lines up too clean. She says women needed protection. He says you removed coverage and increased risk. Then he throws her own words back. I'm not debating. I'm applying framework, exact phrasing. She starts defending. He says, defensiveness is part of the pattern, word for word. She tries again. He says, mindful. Pause, waits 3 seconds. Room completely still. Even the projector sounds too loud. Then conclusion, unauthorized deductions, conflicted vendor relationship, policy misuse, incident interference, unacceptable exposure. Payroll will refund everything with interest. Tax docs will be corrected. All points issued under program, frozen, most reversed. Then he turns to Leah, says, employment terminated immediately. Reason, misconduct and financial violations, security escort, legal review, records preserved. She protests. He just says, you're done. Tone kills the conversation instantly. She stands there shaking, looking around for support. Nobody moves. Her system just got audited in public on the way out. Her handbook falls from the folder, hits the floor, face down like something finished. CEO. Turns back to everyone says, we move freight, we maintain uptime, we don't experiment with payroll, lays out new rules during incidents. Engineers speak freely. No language policing until recovery. HR stays out of technical channels. All policies require legal approval before enforcement meeting ends. No applause, just quiet realization. Hour later, payroll email hits refund, notice amount looks unreal. Another email confirms points removed. Performance plan, canceled records. Corrected like rolling back a bad deploy. Kitchen signs disappear, replaced with basic hygiene. Notice someone microwaves steak. No one says anything, celebration stays low-key, but posture feels normal. Again that night, small alert comes, in-channel is quiet, direct. Technical, no feelings talk, no rewrites, just fixes, status update goes out, clean issue, resolved, fast. Close laptop without writing any apology. Next morning, CEO posts, short message, ship fixes, keep it simple, keep it working. Replies are just thumbs up, no hearts, no circles, no breathing sessions, scroll past Leah's account, deactivated channels, archived, whole thing gone like a deleted branch. Close app feels good, because boring stability is actually the best outcome. And boring is rare.